Welcome to terrafirmagreg, or welcome back if you watched part 1. Last time we just barely got a foothold into this brand new world, culminating in a copper anvil, and beginning to create a bronze anvil to progress even further, tools and the such. The general early game progression in terrafirmagreg is unlocking more advanced metal alloys and metals, ending in red/blue steel, moving on to advancing into circuits. But that's going to be for way later. But today the end goal is going to be wrought iron, one step below steel, but one step above bronze, as you might guess. Starting halfway into day 11 because I forgot to close the game last recording session. Whoopsies. But after briefly assessing the materials I have, because I have forgotten what I had, I determined that I need more copper for bronze. More specific, I need 14 bronze ingots for the anvil, which need to be forged together into double ingots, and then an additional 32 bronze ingots for a bloomery, which is what you use to make wrought iron. You put all the stuff in the top and then burn it, and then it makes blooms, which you then work into iron ingots. But that makes a total of 46 bronze ingots. Bronze, to put it simply, is a 90-10 alloy of copper and tin. I have about 40 ingots worth of tin dust, which I got from a mining a while ago. So I got plenty of that. But I only have 20-ish ingots worth of copper dust. So I'm gonna need to mine a bit. Which brings us into day 12. I mine the entirety of the copper vein next to my base, which nets me an additional 120 ingots worth of ore that will need to be processed in the cairn, quern, however you pronounce that, and then hammered down, which will take a whole bunch of hammers, because you only get 24 dust per hammer. It's a whole thing. This will be a good way to address how I melt the ore. You can put individual dusts into the charcoal and a vessel so that when they melt, they go into the vessel. But as it is right now, I'm trying to melt 20-something dusts at the same time, so it takes 20 times longer. So I don't figure out the individual dust thing until day 16. So until then, it goes pretty slow. I also do a bit of beekeeping each day, trying to breed for better genes to get better production and continue it into later fall. And it'll fertilize the crops better. I do this every day. Just assume I'm doing it if I don't mention it. Towards the end of day 12, I realized that when I get mechanical power, or when I can get mechanical power with wrought iron, I will need a windmill instead of a water wheel, because there's no river nearby. And you can't simply pick up source blocks with a wooden bucket. It's a whole complicated process. I'll get into it later. Anyway, that will require fabric. So I go looking for jutes, which you can soak in water to make burlap. But I don't find any. Instead, I bring back 5 woolly oxen and 3 llamas, which will produce enough wool to supply me with fabric. It does, however, take until the end of day 14. So now seems like a good time while I bring back all of the animals back to my base. Now seems like a good time to do a little bit of shameless shilling. If you're joining so far, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, do whatever you want to do. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Anyway, day 15. My copper has melted, and I begin to pour it into bars like a silly goober. I do silly things sometimes. I pour out 6 bars of copper before realizing, hold up, I need bronze, and melt the dust into the vessel, which gives me bronze, because it's copper and tin. This nets me 13 bronze ingots, which is 1 short of an anvil, which I require to make plates for the bloomery. Because you can't work bronze on a copper anvil for whatever reason. Whatever you want to call it. So, going into day 16, I continue making more bronze ingots, a lot of them, and finally forge a bronze anvil, which took a while, needless to say. I also make a bronze axe. I just cast it into a a mold, and then cut down trees. I'm always cutting down trees. It's what I do best, really. Going into day 17, I continue the bronze hype train by making a bronze hammer for ore refinement, and a spindle, which is made out of clay, but I could have done a while ago, turning the raw wool that I have into wool string, which I can then use with a loom, which I make 4 of because they're slow as hell, to make cloth. At the start of day 18, I have enough bronze to make a bloomery. I just need to weld the ingots into double ingots, turn those double ingots into plates, and then weld 2 of those plates together into double plates. And then I need 8 of those. Needless to say, that requires a lot of forging. Luckily, I just so happened to figure out the optimal pattern to forge plates. 4 hits, a 5th different hit, and then 3 hammers. That's all it is for me. It is a minigame though, and the minigame, to put simply, is a value game, where the green icons move the indicator to the left and the red ones move it to the right. And you need to get the indicator into the correct position, which is another indicator marked on the top of the bar, while making the last 3 moves match the pattern at the top. It's pretty difficult to figure out, and I didn't even figure it out until probably my 10th hour playing on my first run. I just spent so much time trying to figure it out. But if you do it well, you get bonuses on durability and damage and stuff on your weapons and tools. Added on top of that, every different world you create, the bar changes. So world to world, you can't keep your patterns. And you can't just look up the optimal pattern. You need to figure them out in your world and then memorize them. Just to prove how difficult it is, here's me trying to make a knife head. It's pretty bad. It just keeps going and going and going. I spent 5 minutes on this, by the way. I spent a quarter of a day on that. But by the end of the day, the bloomery lid is completed. You do need a couple extra things for the bloomery though. It's a multi-block, starting with the bloomery shutters that I made with the 8 double plates, which is 4 ingots each, 32. It's a whole big thing. I said this a lot. Still, it's just so much and I'm ranting again. Anyway, and then you need a whole bunch of smooth stone, which you get from mining the boulder near my base or just going down into the copper quarry, which has no copper left. And then shaping it in a pattern like so, making it nice and cool, and then you can build an additional 3 layers up for 48 total inputs. On day 19, I begin preparations for my first iron production. The first step is getting better tools. I make a bronze mining hammer and more supports for lots of quarrying, as I'm going to need a lot of iron. Luckily though, the vein that I found, I mined the entire day, and by the end, I have about 100 ingots worth of iron ore, assuming each dust is about an iron. You'll have to subtract about 10%. I don't want to do that. It's a whole big thing. Starting day 20 with grinding iron and then dropping it in the water to purify it. Same process as with the copper and the tin. It's a whole thing. To make wrought iron blooms in the bloomery, you first drop in an iron dust and a charcoal, specifically a charcoal. It can't be anything else. 1-to-1 in the bloomery, and again, you can do that up to 24 of each for 48 inputs. That, because the iron dust I have is not pure, will create about 21 iron blooms, which I then work some of them into wrought iron ingots. After doing that, they cool down a little too much, and I start another batch in the bloomery. But that is where I will end the video for today. Stay tuned for the next episode. I'm going to break into the mechanical age and begin my factory. Actually, I'm going to build something as well. It's going to be quite neat. Once again, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe, like, comment, whatever you want to do, really. And thanks for watching. See ya.